Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to go over another method of sharpening a step drill. A while back we did a video on sharpening step drills using camera leaving equipment, and today we're going to do it in an altogether different way. But before we get into it, real quick, just want to say a huge thank you to our Patreon members. We've been having technical difficulties over there, and those people are sticking with us like troopers, so thanks a bunch, guys. Today we're going to freshen up these cutting edges by taking some material off the face. Now if you look at some of these corners here, if the light is just right, you can see them reflecting back at you. Those are all dings and dull spots and damage. So we're just going to give the face of this a lick, and we're going to get rid of that damage and freshen this thing right back up. We've got a very shallow flute on this thing, and so I'm going to need a wheel that cuts a nice square corner, and I think I'm going to go with this little cup wheel. It can reach right down to the bottom, and we can run it back and forth like this. I think that'll give us what we're looking for. I'm going to get this wheel mounted to the machine. I am going to want the wheel running true in this orientation, so I'm going to get the wheel on there, and I'm going to get my spindle dialed 90 degrees to where it is now. Dialing is pretty boring for people on the watching end of it. It's important that this wheel be running perfectly true to the axis of the table, and if it were not running true to the axis of the table, we would be grinding in an angle. And because we're going to get the face of this tool running 0 in 2 directions, we also need our wheel to cut a nice straight line. So it's super important that we dial this in. Hope that makes sense. Wasn't sure if I was going to have clearance here holding this in a collet, because immediately after the face of the collet you got this big indexing disc on here and stuff, and this isn't dialed yet, but if I just kind of roughly come in here, it looks like I'm going to make it to the back of the flute, no problem. Get all those cutting edges cleaned up well before I start running into stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and give it a try like this. So this actually needs to be dialed in 3 different directions. I need the face to run true this way, I need the flute to be running true this way, and also rotationally I need the face of the tooth to be zeroed out this way. So I'm going to get into that and dial this in the 3 different directions, and then we'll double check and make sure that we do have the clearance that we need to get in there. First thing I set up to dial was the rotation of this, and so what I'm going to be doing is traveling up and down with my dial like this and rotating the sensitive workhead until I get that reading 0 all the way up and down. What I'm doing now is I'm getting this true by eye, and then once this is true by eye, I'm going to actually dial this in, and then we'll go back and we'll dial this in. Because I've got all these different angles going on, the dialing of each 0 affects some of the others, and so there's going to be a bit of back and forth and just reducing the run out after multiple setups. I hope that makes sense. I'm dialed in all 3 directions now, so I'm ready to bring my wheel back in and get it down close to the height that I would want it to be to do this work, and in close to the tooth face, and then make sure we still have enough clearance with all this going on over here. So yep, that's going to work just fine. I'm well past the last cutting edge here with the edge of my wheel, and so I'm just going to set a stop up there, because that's going to be as far as I'm ever going to want to travel in this direction. Getting my dust collector set up here, because nobody wants to be breathing in all this crap. There's one final thing I want to check before we get rocking and rolling here, This is a 2-flute step drill. I want to make sure that both tooth faces are in fact on index with each other. And if they're not, I want to know that ahead of time so I don't go screaming into something. So, first face is at 0 on the dial, index 180. Second face is at plus 10 on the dial. So this isn't the showstopper, but what this is going to do is prevent us just from going from one tooth to the next and back and forth. Instead, the way I'm going to handle this is I'm going to start with a tooth. I'm going to record where I touch off by setting a 0 on my machine crossfeed. And then I'm going to see how far I travel to clean up the damage that I'm happy. And then I'm going to index it around the other tooth. I'm going to come in. When I touch the other tooth, I'm going to set a 0 and I'm going to go the same amount. That way, at least I've taken the same amount off of each side, even though they're not perfectly on index with each other. So here we go. There's where my 0 is going to get sucked. I'm pretty happy with that first side. That only took 5. So I'm not quite happy with that first side. I'm going to take another 5 now, as instructed by my camera team. So now I think we're good. Survey says, okay, we're happy, we're all happy. So I'm going to index 180, get that other tooth lined up. Now I need to be very careful because if I were to just come in now, of course, I'd be way into this thing and I'd ruin it. And so, but I also can't be too far away because this surface here is angled. So as I come away from the wheel, my height is going to be an issue. So it's a matter of coming in really careful, really slow, and really paying attention to what's going on. And sure enough, at 11th thou away from 0, we're touching off. And so the other one, I started at 0 and I went up to the 10th thou mark. Now this face is advanced, not an accurate build from the beginning. It's advanced by 10 or so thou, and that's why I'm hitting now at around 90 thou. So all I have to do now is bring this up to 0 and it'll be matched to the other side. And I hope all that makes sense. Let's see how that looks. So that's side 2 all done. It's camera team approved apparently. So what we're going to do is move on and give this thing a quick deburr. So all this grinding has pushed a little burr up all along this cutting edge. It wouldn't matter one little bit. But whenever I'm finishing up a tool, I try and make it be in the condition that a customer is going to expect to find it in when returned to them after sharpening. So I'm going to use my 3 thou diameter stainless wire wheel to just knock that burr off. It won't dull the tool any, it'll just knock that burr off and this will look properly, professionally repaired. This is a super delicate wire wheel. These are stainless steel hairs. They're 3 thou diameter, so they're just a shade bigger than an actual human hair. And what they'll do is knock that burr off without actually dulling the edge any. And you can see they've done that. Well, that's going to do it for today's video, guys. I hope you've enjoyed the other way to sharpen a step drill. Bye for now. We'll see you in the next one.